A new proposal from NCAA President Charlie Baker would allow top Division I schools to pay their athletes directly for the first time. In a letter obtained by CNN, Baker outlined how the highest resource schools would be put in a new tier or subdivision, requiring them to offer compensation to at least half their student athletes. Let's discuss now with senior sports legal reporter for Sportico, Michael Mann. Michael, thanks so much for sharing part of your afternoon with us. This is largely a response to some of the problems that have been generated by the name, image, and likeness rule, the NIL. Let's take a step back and walk through what those issues are and what this tries to address.
Sure. So for a long time, Morris, the NCAA didn't allow college athletes to enjoy a right they already had, which is the right of publicity, the idea that you can do an endorsement deal and make money. The NCAA shifted course in 2021, allowing that to happen. And since then, some college athletes have done very well. And the NCAA believes, though, that some schools are basically directly paying, or perhaps through boosters, NIL money. So this policy change is significant because it involves, as you mentioned, direct payment to athletes. It involves partnering between schools and athletes for their NIL. It's a more transparent process. It's also a more equitable process in that the athletes are getting paid. And it also separates these top schools from the rest, which might help those schools in the future.
And Michael, is the breakdown included in the proposal over how much certain student athletes would earn?
No, there's a minimum part of it in terms of $30,000 a year, but there isn't a maximum. And of course, the max is going to really come down to recruiting. These top schools are going to be recruiting with each other, and they're going to be bidding against each other. Now, some might feel troubled by that to say, whoa, I thought this is college sports, this is amateur sports. But remember, some of these coaches are making over $10 million a year. You could argue, why shouldn't these schools compete as they compete for coaches, competing for college athletes? That it's fair that the labor is getting some money from this.
Yeah, I mean, the students are putting their lives potentially, or their health at least, at risk by playing the sport that generates enormous money for the school itself in terms of other students, recruitment, tuition, etc. Michael, I'm wondering, what if a school decides it doesn't want to be part of that new subdivision, a top-tier school that says, we want to stay with the rest of D1? What happens then?
Yeah, this is the best part of it, you could say, is that the school doesn't have to be part of it. The school doesn't have to pay anything to athletes. If it wishes to adopt a more traditional model, it can leave that subdivision or not enter it. And it gives the school discretion. Now, many schools cry that they're poor, that they can't pay athletes. It will be really interesting to see if, in fact, schools adopt that more traditional approach and not pay athletes. The cost to them would be leaving this more marketable division. And I think many would say they're going to be skeptical that schools would actually do that because they're making so much money through college sports. As you noted, Forrest, it's not just TV money, it's also impact on donations, alumni, admissions. Some high school students want to go to a school with big-time sports. The impact is huge. Will schools actually forego that? I think that's going to be a really interesting question to answer in the years ahead.
I guess the counter argument would be that student athletes essentially become school employees, though they're not being called that, right?
Yeah, well, you could argue they are employees. I mean, there are other college students who are employees. There are work-study students who are employees. At Dartmouth College, which is in my neck of the woods, the students in dining services are employees of the school, and they've also unionized, and they've negotiated a CBA. You can be an employee and a student at the same time. That concept in college sports is considered very controversial, but it may be less controversial now going forward.
Michael, I'm going to put you on the spot. Very quick, yes or no answer. Did FSU get snubbed, not being included in the college football playoff?
Yes, they got snubbed, but I don't think it's going to go on.
Take that, Caitlin Collins. Michael Mann, thank you so much. It's time to check your couch cushions.